Join in. So good afternoon. Happy Friday. This is our open Zoom beginner mastermind. And really the purpose of the group on Fridays is to get together and kind of do learning-based activities. And over the past couple of weeks and months, we've been focusing in on different aspects of using the free version of ChatGPT, the 3.5 version, or the version that you can get using Bing, and just kind of going over different use cases for real estate agents. And today what I wanted to do, and we can kind of make this a choose your own adventure call, since we have a small, higher quality group today. But one of the, I'll just put it out there as a suggestion. One of the things that I had in mind was kind of diving into DALL-E 3 a little bit to explore the ways that we can use the tool to create different types of marketing collateral for our brands as real estate agents. So that's just an idea. That's just something to consider for the next 40, 50 minutes. Another thing that I kind of thought that would be interesting to have a conversation about is prompting. And that's something that everybody that's new to AI and ChatGPT, one of the first things that they start hearing about as they dive into learning is this prompting idea, the word prompting, and the questions are, what is it? How do you do it? How can I get better at it? But I want to talk a little bit about that if you guys are open to it. But before we do that, Steph, Jeffrey, do you guys want to kind of give us a little background on why you're here, what you're using AI for, what your interests are, and kind of, as specifically from like your business perspective, what have been the use cases that you've seen that's been most helpful to you?
Yeah, I can go first. So I'm really excited to learn more about DALL-E 3. That's part of why I'm trying to dive in a little bit more. I've been using the free version only of ChatGPT for helping write copy. So I have right now like a Portland neighborhood guide, and I used ChatGPT really to help me write it. So I gave it a couple prompts like, tell me what's unique about the Brentwood neighborhood, and then I would say like answer these 5 questions about the Brentwood neighborhood. So I really used it a ton for that. I also have had it write my monthly emails of like, give me 5 events happening in Portland in November, and with a casual ask to use me in their real estate business. So I've been using it, I would say, pretty basically for a while. But then this last week, so in that neighborhood guide, I have these little illustrated maps of the different parts of Portland, and I was just taking those from the internet. And so I'd gone onto Fiverr to see if I could get someone to draw these maps. Each map for 5 quadrants was going to be $150. And at the same time, I saw people start talking about DALL-E 3, and I was thinking, oh, I wonder if I could get DALL-E 3 to do this and save a bunch of money from, spending $600 for the neighborhood guide for no reason. So I think I'm always happy to hear more about prompts. I think I've been using it super basically, but have no idea how to use DALL-E 3 or any of the graphic stuff. So I'm really curious about that.
Awesome. So much to dive into there with what you said. I love that you said that, I'm just using artificial intelligence on a basic level for my real estate business. I think you're in the top like 0.01% of real estate agents if you're using ChatGPT or any sort of large language model to create content that's hyper local, specific to your brand and your business. Sometimes we feel like we're in this little like insulated bubble if we we're talking to each other, just focusing in on the little silos that we're in. We don't realize like not a lot of people are really using the tool yet, I don't think. And so yeah, I chuckled a little bit inside. That's awesome though, and I'd love to learn a little bit more about your workflows for doing that and the prompts that you're using, because I think that particular use case, that's always going to be important for real estate agents. That's never going to go away, especially for those that are, they're people that are interested in being buyer's agents and listing agents and working in the profession in those capacities. You're going to be seen as a hyperlocal expert who knows what's going on and who can articulate and communicate about the area. So I'd love to learn more about it. Thanks.
Thank you.
What about you, Jeff?
Well, I did quickly want to say that I am definitely interested in exploring DALL-E 3 more. And I think you make a really good point about the prompts. I saw some of visuals that you shared earlier last week. I think it was earlier this week, and I was like, whoa, I was blown away. I feel like I've gotten a lot better using prompts just in general with GPT to get what I want, but not with DALL-E 3. So I am interested in kind of spending some time on that. Started using it basically by just asking it questions. I didn't know what the heck I was doing when I started using it like several months ago. And then I just started to kind of, I mean, I'd laugh and I agree with Steph that I'm kind of using it on using AI on a basic level, but I've used it for analyzing our own like business trends, business sources, lead sources. I actually I've role played with it before with the turning the voice on and telling it, you know, hey, I want to script practice. Here's the objective that I'm going to give you in the scenario. It blows my mind, the ability that it has to script practice. It called me out once saying, you know, that was a good start, Jeff, but you may want to consider X, Y, and Z. But yeah, I'm just really trying to explore more ways to use it more efficiently. And I think you're exactly right that it blows my mind as well that like I don't think there's so many people who don't use it and who don't even know of it. And that's really why I'm here to try to get ahead, take
I'm
advantage.
interested to know, thank you. When you were doing the role playing, what was the impact on you specifically? Like once there was like an initial thing that you felt, and that led you to go role play. But what was the effect of the role play on you? What happened after that?
You know, I think that this is a powerful, powerful tool that goes well beyond the realms of real estate. If I'm going to answer your question genuinely, because I was in my car alone and script practicing and role playing, you know, once you do it with someone, it gets more comfortable. But if you've never done it or it's not part of your regular business practice, it can be a little awkward at first or a little, you know, you feel a little weird. Doing it with a robot felt goofy at first until this air quotes robot machine was speaking back to me with very real objections, and it actually kind of gave me a bit of confidence, like I guess in a interesting way, because it quite literally is like an objective third party entity, I guess you could say. I don't know if that answers the question. It's really weird to try to verbalize emotions based off in an interaction with a machine.
It makes total sense. That's actually something that you said is what I've heard a lot of other agents say that are using ChatGPT for role playing. And the word that you used was confidence. I was talking to a colleague the other day, and she was using ChatGPT to role play through a difficult seller conversation that she was anticipating having to have. And she wasn't doing it with the voice motor on her phone in her car, but for her, it had the same effect for her. It gave her the confidence to go in and have that conversation. So I agree. It's kind of opening up a new window into how to learn how to be a real estate agent, especially for those of us that are having first time conversations over a topic or a issue that we're having in our business, or for first time agents. Going into a room to do role playing with, you know, tenured agents as a brand new agent can be really intimidating. And for some, it may be a barrier to actually getting into role playing and learning how to have these conversations. So I do think that there's an opportunity to kind of dip your toe into it with ChatGPT. So yeah, that's really exciting. And I've had the same sort of experience both in real estate and out of real estate in terms of just ideas that I have. It's great to talk. It's another way of interacting with the technology too, because you talk differently than you type. And so
Yeah,
I oftentimes, I'll have a different result in my brain. The conversation will go in a different direction if I'm using my phone versus typing. And I also internalize the information differently when I hear it spoken to me rather than read it off of a screen. It's just way more powerful in my view to hear it spoken. And the text to voice, the transcription services sound so human-like. There are ums and pauses and natural inflections in the robot's voice that they really do. I think the result is that's why you feel confident, because it feels like you're talking to an actual person. It's wild. Oh, go ahead, Jeff. I'm going to plug my computer too.
Wanted to add really quickly, and then I'll stop rambling, that as you run away, Dylan, that I think you hit the nail on the head. And I hadn't really thought of it in that manner until you said it, but you get completely different results when you speak to it, because none of us speak in the same fashion that we write. And so speaking to it like you would speak to anyone else, you're going to get different, you're going to yield different results. And it's just a powerful, I mean, everything is, yeah. So I'm muting myself now and I'm done rambling.
Have you used the voice features of ChatGPT yet? Or tell us a little bit about what you've been diving into on your end.
No, I haven't used the voice yet, but I'm intrigued. Oh yeah, I will definitely be using that, because right now, when I'm using it for whatever content I am using it for, emails, text message, social media, things like that, it's almost like I catch myself typing back, thank you, and, almost like it's, different. It's like I'm talking to someone, and I'll catch myself doing that. And I'm like, oh my God, did I just have a conversation with them? You kind of are, but, I mean, I have a lot of conversations in my head. So, and now I've just got one more tool to have a conversation with, like they're truly, really there sitting next to me or something. So I think that's pretty cool.
I honestly think that that's a byproduct of a kind heart as well. I mean, whenever you start thinking, you're having a conversation, your mind is there, and hey, thanks. Oh, you're a person, or you're a robot. Why should I be thanking you? But
Yeah.
That's just part of you, and that makes, while it's weird because it's an it, not a he or she, but yeah.
I have a kind of along those lines a perspective on that I think that the agents or anyone that's using the tech in that way are probably going to get better results, especially the real estate agents. Depending on what you're actually trying to do with ChatGPT, I think you're going to get better results in terms of the outputs and the style and the tone of the actual product slash conversation that you're having. And I think that kind of ties into what I was mentioning in the beginning of the call, which is the idea of like prompting this thing. It inevitably comes up in most conversations about AI. And there are people out there making money selling very structured prompts. These prompts are like super long prompts that they're very like they're built with a certain almost like scientific architecture around them about how to interact with ChatGPT and these large language models. And in my view, a lot of the conversations that are being held around prompting kind of make prompting seem much more hard and mysterious than it actually is. For me, in my world as a real estate agent, prompting is just another word for communicating. And there's no wrong way to prompt. Everything that I do with ChatGPT in terms of my prompting when I'm doing activities related to real estate are usually very conversational. So in my view, conversational prompting, it looks and feels a lot like just Dylan typing on the computer with natural language. There's very little copying and pasting of prompts from prompt packs or special websites. And it looks a lot like I'm texting or talking to a close friend or colleague rather than talking to a computer. ChatGPT does an amazing job at understanding, following, digesting conversational prompts. So I think a lot of real estate agents, when they start working with ChatGPT, they open it up, there's a blank screen and they're like, what do I put? So from this fear, they go find a prompt and then they start interacting with it from the prompt. And sometimes that works. But I think that really you get better results the more you just talk to it like Pat talks to ChatGPT, saying please and thank you, and just as you normally are, being authentic. So I also think that there's another reason why I don't really like too much focus on structured prompting, and why I emphasize in a lot of what I do conversational prompting. And I think that for most people, having to worry about prompts at all is a very temporary state that we're in. It's more reflective of where this technology is at. I think that AI systems are going to be improving dramatically in the coming months, and the need for us to have like these esoteric, very formulaic prompts is going to go away. The AI themselves they're just going to become really good at figuring out what it is that we need. And the more that you talk to it conversationally, the better job it's going to do of figuring out what it is that you need. So I think that my favorite illustration of that, like to really come full circle, is to tie it into the image creators. So DALL-E 3, if you don't pay for ChatGPT Plus, you can't access DALL-E 3 through OpenAI's platform, but you could get it through Bing. It's not better than the other image creators like Midjourney or some of Adobe's products, but it is really good for a really important reason, and that's that DALL-E system lets you just talk to the AI about the art that you want, and the AI creates the prompt for you. And so I think that as real estate agents, we never got into this business thinking that we needed, wanting to learn prompting or wanting to learn AI or wanting to learn the tech. We just wanted to get something done. So we wanted to sell a home or help a family. And I think that DALL-E 3 makes it possible for us to just go in and just ask the AI, can you create a logo for me? So I think that, Pat, what you said, I think I went on a huge tangent there in a way, but I think it's super important and understated in terms of, as new people start learning the tech, like what's okay and what's not okay. You almost, the way that you said what you said made it sound like you were unsure if it was okay to be or talking to an AI bot in that way. And I think that it's exactly the way that you ought to.
Oh yeah, because it's kind of almost like I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm like, oh God, is anybody around? Did they just, because it's all typing, so now I'm gonna have to do the word. But just like with the DALL-E 3, I was trying to do a image and it wasn't quite what I wanted. And so finally I just asked it, tell me, what are you looking for? What am I missing here to get this image? And it broke down steps. It's almost like painting a picture, it said. Start from here and, say it's got this type of hair or this, and gave me examples, or these eyes. And once I started really going down deeper into it and using what it told me it was looking for, it came out to be a lot better than, and it came out to be what I wanted, pretty much. And I go back and forth with it too, because, and I did tell it today, I said, hey, you know what? You told me you can't create the exact image twice, but you did. You created it 3 times. Why? And it explained to me why it happened. So
well, that is it. Mark, before we continue, did you want to mention what you just posted in the chat? What did you?
Yeah, it's something what you were just talking about as far as the progression of AI and how it's going. I pushed or put a pin in the chat that talks about the AI pin, and it has integrations with OpenAI, which is my interest in it. But if you watch that thing, it is crazy where AI is going, and it's supposed to be available first part of next year. So this might be interesting for people to kind of look at. It doesn't need a prompt. You talk to it. You you have a regular conversation and it goes and does the things for you. You can control it with your hand because there's like an optical part to it as well. And it's crazy what's about to hit.
We'll definitely take a look after a pitch like that.
I'm a tech nerd, so I have all kinds of things, and this was one of those next things that I'm on the list to get one and see where where I can take it. So
awesome. Well, why don't we go ahead and I'll definitely take a look at that. I want to open up DALL-E and kind of step through some of the things that I've just been kind of seeing / running into, and maybe folks will have some thoughts that they want to share as we go along, or questions will come up. Let's go in here and, well, first of all, is there anything else that any other questions right now? Wonderments?
hey, Dylan, did you and Cody ever get together about, he was telling me that he was going to let kind of your group have access to that, the book that we wrote for free?
We haven't, Cody and I haven't connected yet on that. I think that there were plans to, and then something came up, and so it's still a to-do.
There's just so many beginners that
Yep.
I think it would be helpful for them, and it's something that I know he is selling, but I think he wanted to help the community, and I just wasn't sure where that was at.
Yeah, no, that's something that we've been meaning to connect over. So thanks for the reminder. We definitely want to work together to come up with something that we can share with folks to help make an on-ramp for folks that want to start using the tech. So Steph, Pat, Jeffrey, do you guys all have access to it? Did you get the new version of GPT-4 Turbo?
No, I did not. I haven't paid for anything. So that was my first question. So you do recommend getting the like $20 a month version?
So yes, and I'm not evangelical about AI or ChatGPT at all. For me, this is just about tech enablement. And I think that, and if you're looking at it as an investment in your business, I think that the ability to create illustrations from text, graphics from text using DALL-E 3 and OpenAI's tool is, from a real estate agent perspective, probably like, I mean, it's reason enough to do it. You're already using it to do massive amounts of content creation. I think that getting access to GPT-4 Turbo is going to really allow you to get a lot more high quality content, maybe even longer content if you want longer content for some of those guides. I think that there's a potential to also scale what you've been doing using GPT-4 Turbo to take it to the next level. So I think that it would be well worth the investment. The recent addition of the bots, essentially, where you can make custom GPTs, I think that particularly, if you were interested in really taking your neighborhood guides and your content creation to the next level, there's an opportunity there to develop your own custom Portland specific custom GPT that is your content creation assistant that helps you really fully flesh out like a 360-degree plan for that effort. You can also create custom GPTs that will work with that content creator GPT to help you create other collateral around the Portland neighborhood guide. And I think that it's a little bit early to kind of like, and that to see where all of that's headed. But I do think that getting access to that would be another reason to spend the money. I mean, it's for $20 a month, you have access to an assistant. And I think that people are spending a lot more for less in terms of productivity tools. So I would say it's worth it. It's been worth it to me. I don't want to pretend to know like what you're.
The big thing, there's two big things. Number one, of course, they've been having a lot of outages recently due to all the changes. But that aside, is if you are paying for it, you do get priority access, which is important. The other thing that to me is probably the biggest advantage is as you're building your Portland neighborhood information and you create a thread, you start creating a thread. In the version that you're doing right now, it has limited memory. So the longer the thread, it starts losing information from the top and you're only getting the stuff at the bottom. With the newest version, you've got like 300 pages of documents that could be utilized as content and not lose that context. So as you're building stuff, it's not forgetting. So it's building a much deeper, more concise, more actually I should say more robust version of your content to be used for building other things.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
Yes, for sure.
Because there was a time when we were typing in information and it was remembering stuff, and then all of a sudden it started acting stupid. It's like, well, I told you that earlier, and it was just because it didn't remember. It got outside the context of where we were at, is outside of its memory. So with this newest version, now all of that memory is retained and can continue to build. So if you're building threads of things, descriptions of properties, and one of the recommendations I always have is, if you've got a new property on the market, start a new thread, keep that thread going of information about that property and what you're doing with it, and continue to build it. And then as you're building those advertisement pieces, any kind of content that goes for that property, you just go back to that thread, type in a few things of what you need, and it remembers everything that you had already put in. So you don't have to repeat everything. So again, a big time saver.
Nice.
Yep. Good information.
Yeah, it really is great advice. You're creating a knowledge bank. You're creating a set of data that doesn't already exist yet with a lot of what you're doing by organizing it the way that you're organizing it. And so I think that it's important to not be susceptible to loss of context when you're using 3.5, which is what Mark is saying. So the 4.0 version is definitely going to help give you higher quality stuff to play with. But you'll also have access to DALL-E 3 within the platform, and you can flexibly like have a conversation about a property or have a conversation about your guide and then ask DALL-E 3 to do something for you. So one of the things that and this is improving. We're not quite there yet. Y'all see the DALL-E 3 screen?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that's been difficult to do, and it's a little bit easier in some of the other platforms, but in DALL-E 3, it's hard to create a cohesive set of images for a brand. They're working on it, and they recently released some updates that kind of make it a little bit easier. But one of the things that, as a real estate agent, if you're working in DALL-E 3 and you want to create an image and you see something that you like the line thickness, the colors, the iconography, the kind of the way that the logo is set up, it's hard to take the elements of that design, like the style and the tone, and use it as input for another image. That's been one of the most common complaints, at least recently. So in the last couple of days, I don't know exactly when it was released, OpenAI rolled out an update to DALL-E 3 in which you can kind of, there's a solution to that problem that I just mentioned. So when you're working in DALL-E 3, and I just kind of want to highlight what I was talking about here, I just asked it to create an icon set for a real estate website for a real estate agent in Asheville. That's where I live. And then I listed out some things here. So just to kind of explore the process of creating in DALL-E 3, this is my very non-structured prompt where I'm just kind of talking as a human here. Please give me some options. I've identified some elements of what I want the icons to look like. I've told it a little bit about who I am, and then I've given it this list. So anytime I'm kind of coming up with partnering with DALL-E 3 to do brainstorming about what I want an image to look like, I try to give it a seed, a starter prompt, so to speak, to start working on some ideas. And this is just a starter prompt for branding. And there are 1,000 different ways to do this. But one of the most important things about this particular sentence that I typed is this list at the end. So if you're trying to ask DALL-E 3 to come up with some ideas for you for a brand, or this could even be ideas for a postcard, or ideas for a logo, ideas for your website, ideas for a newsletter design, it's helpful to provide a list of images or iconography that DALL-E 3 can kind of go into its schema and start pulling from, so that it can use that as a basis for creating what you want to create. For me, I'm looking for an icon set. So this is I like to start with icon sets because icon sets are just lots of little images, and DALL-E can do a good job of creating little images. Also does a good job of creating really big cohesive images. But I wanted to get kind of granular here to make sure that things that I was interested in are represented in the results. So I listed out some things that I like, and then asked DALL-E 3 to provide me with some options. So here it's actually giving me some options for icons, and it's listed them out and kind of explained a little bit about those icons. And I'm just going to say, go ahead and create the icon set. So sometimes when I have this conversation with DALL-E 3, it'll explain itself, and then other times it will actually provide the image. And that's just the result of my perfectly human prompt. I'm not being very specific here. Please provide me with the images immediately. Don't ask me any questions. You could say that. So while it's doing that, I think this is one of the best. This is one of the reasons why I love DALL-E 3 so much, is that you don't have to have a huge marketing budget. You don't have to have a huge marketing team to come up with some ideas for icons. Or so just start to get an idea for like, what do I want my brand to look like? Like, who am I and how do I want people to see me? So this is the result. It's provided 2 sets of images here. We got a mountain scene. We've got, some of them are really weird. Like, some of them you won't use. There's a bottle of beer in a barrel. We've got a bottle of beer here, or a mug. We've got a bike. We've got some hops being chopped down. We've got some folks going down the river. We've got some more hops and buildings. So it did an okay job. I mean, for a first pass effort at creating some illustrations from Dylan's very imperfect real estate agent prompt about branding, it did a pretty good job. We've got some burgundy icons. They look semi-hand drawn. There's not too much detail in them, which I like. There's enough though, so you can see what they are. I like this one a lot more. There's this cool little textured gradient kind of speckled pattern on each one of these images. To me, this is very an Asheville vibe right here, especially with this tan background. So it's taken some liberty here. It's taken as input my prompt. Yeah, what's up, Jeff?
I just wanted, sorry to cut you off real quick. I just wanted to ask about the misspelling of Asheville. That's the most challenging thing that I have that I haven't been able to work around, is giving it exactly what I want it to say, and it'll create it, but it'll misspell it.
So let's
on using Canva to fix that. I enjoyed that video. Good job putting that together.
Yeah, I mean, really quickly, even we can go into Canva. I can show you that it used to be the bane of my existence, because I was like, oh my gosh, I would get these amazing graphics from DALL-E 3, and then it would say like this unintelligible sort of gibberish here, and it used to be the worst, because I remember being on my phone in an airport playing around with DALL-E 3, and I created a graphic that I absolutely loved, and I couldn't use it because there was misspelling in it, and I ended up getting onto my phone, going into like the iPhone editing app and like scrubbing it away with my finger on the phone to try to like. Anyways, long story short, it did not turn out great, and it was not something I could use. But what I'm going to do is show you how to quickly fix that. If you ever create anything in DALL-E 3 where the text is not spelled right, then you can go in and really pretty quickly fix it. So we're going to upload that image. And once you bring it into Canva, this is kind of assuming it did a perfect job with your icon set or whatever graphic that you're using, you can just go ahead, go pull this into Canva and then start cropping this out so you can isolate these images and then, add a new page and start isolating specific other elements of it so that you can really start to fine tune where you want to use these. But using the edit photo function, grab text, this is a feature that Canva's just released in their Magic Studio update. It's their AI photo editing software. And this will automatically detect any text in the image. Here you can see that it's outlined in purple now. Now I can just go in and say Asheville.
And Canva just released that. You're insane.
So this is super exciting. So one of the things that if you go down, obviously this font is different. It's not the same font, right? Because it's just going to be based off of whatever fonts they have. So that's a cool font. Like I like that because it's kind of fits the vibe of the image, but this is the replacement.
It's not bad.
It's pretty close. Like, so not only is there detecting text, it's also on some level matching the style of the text. So I think that's pretty cool. For some reason, it didn't get this P here, but I don't know why it would because it doesn't really look like a word. So that kind of solves that. And then if there's like any sort of effect you want to apply, you just go in and you make that effect. You can see the way that it's shaped changes. So you can start to really, do whatever graphic design thing you want to do in here as you normally would.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was just like a lifesaver that they released that because I was creating a lot of stuff that happened to really need text. And DALL-E 3 does a great job of designing text. It doesn't do a good job of spelling.
I spent, I swear, 30 minutes trying to get it to spell workflow.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, if you do this, like it won't listen.
No.
It won't listen. So
it said something like, I made double sure that everything was spelled correctly, and it was misspelled. I mean, it's just,
yeah, I've spent hours, but so hopefully that does improve. Hopefully and I don't know exactly how it will improve, but I hope that it can be an improvement. If it doesn't improve though, I think we'll be okay. I think this gets us so far in coming up with a brand identity. So one of the things that you can do when you download it, the actual prompt here. Okay, so it's given us another set of images. Let's see. Hiker, Biak, okay, another misspelling. So if you don't like what you see, you just can iterate through with DALL-E 3 and say, please try again. Now, one of the things that I have noticed recently is that they are changing some of the backend, some of the under the hood instructions that ChatGPT will send to DALL-E 3. And if you just say, please regenerate, it's starting to, we'll see if it does it here. Sometimes it'll deny my request. It's doing it here. So I think depending on the load and the number of people on the website, they will kind of limit your ability to recreate a bunch of different images using the same initial prompt. This didn't work yesterday when I was doing it. It asked me to please specify a change that I wanted. But anyways, this is using the same prompt that we provided earlier. Please provide me with some options. And here we have 4 different, there's quite a few different options in each one of these images to choose from. And you can take this. So what initially led to this was like, I really want cool Instagram story highlight covers. And I want some icons that I can use for my Instagram. And I think that that's what led to the request to generate some icons. So I provided a list of things that I do. Now I can take these into Canva. I can cut them down. I can resize them to Instagram story highlight design shape, and then download them, upload them to Instagram, and I have some story covers. So that's why I did that. Now, one of the things that's difficult to do, so if you've identified that, like, I really like this particular image and the style and the tone of this image. Let's go ahead and let's use one of the ones that it just regenerated. It'll be easier to reference. One of the things that you need to be able to ask DALL-E 3 for is something called the Gen ID. The Gen ID is a specific reference or specific identifier for an image within a conversation. So each one of these icon sets that we've created has a Gen ID in this conversation. Once this finishes, I'll show you what I mean. And the reason why you would want to use the Gen ID or refer to the Gen ID is that it allows you to create a sequence of images in a conversation that roughly reflect each other, congruent in terms of their style and their tone. And that's super important when you're creating something for a brand, because you don't want your newsletter header to look too terribly different than the way your logo looks, or the way that your postcard looks, or the way that you want there to be some sort of congruence between these things. So once you're done evolving your concept over time by your prompting and your conversating, you can use the Gen ID to create a cohesive set of images. So let's see, which one of these do we want to do the Gen ID with? Let's choose this first one. I misspelled response, but again, we're doing a human conversational prompting here. So it's provide the Gen ID, and the Gen ID is something that I want to save in this conversation. I just copy it, and now what we can do theoretically, and this is kind of new and working, is create a new sort of design based off of that Gen ID. So what should we create? Why don't we?
So if you're wanting it to tweak a particular image, the first step is getting that Gen ID so it knows which one you're talking about.
Yeah. So let's maybe we can start there and then do this next step.
Yeah, Gen ID is brand new to me as of 3 minutes ago, Dylan.
I really like the style and tone design of the first image and the last response. And I'm just kind of being a little bit overkill here. But this is sometimes how my brain thinks. And I think that it's helpful to talk to ChatGPT or DALL-E 3 in this case, like, how does he think? And it doesn't have to follow any format or rhythm or cadence. It's just you. What do we want to change about this particular image here?
Make it a transparent background would be something I would want. But I don't know.
Let's see how well it does there. So that would make it a lot easier to do what I was saying earlier and use each one of these icons as different, design elements in different things, like a newsletter or a Word document that I'm creating for people based off, on Asheville, if I'm creating a neighborhood guide and want to use cool little, we don't need to go to Google anymore, Google Images or Clipart, or buy vector art from some crazy website. We can create our own here, and it can be branded to us. It can be relevant to us. So let's see.
How does it work with prompts that are like, make it classier, make it more elegant, does that work?
Yeah.
Does it understand that?
Yeah, okay. we can definitely. Yeah, if this isn't classy enough for you, if this is a little too like kitschy, then we can go classy. You can create, you can create luxury. You can create something that's more feminine. We can say, make it more flowery. So let's say here, it does not look like it really worked out.
It didn't do transparent, but
yeah,
but
the style is very similar. So I think that it did a pretty good job there. Now, this isn't a situation where we have like a graphic designer sitting next to us and we're like, please use the exact same style and create the icons just differently. This is a little bit of a different process than that. But if we're looking to get pretty close, I think it got pretty close in terms of creating a new image, a new set of icons with the same sort of line thicknesses and design elements. Make it classier. Now, its schema for the word classy in the context of real estate may need to be something that we fine tune. So this is just a a moonshot sort of like, hopefully it gets what we mean by classy. It probably doesn't, but this will be an opportunity to further refine. Yep, you can also do that. You can stylistically ask it for pretty much anything. Okay, so classier. So it looks like it did a couple of things. These look a little bit
they're more detailed.
They're definitely more detailed, yeah. Steph, do you think they look classier?
Yeah, I mean, I think it got it.
Yeah, they look a little less, the lines are a little less thick. I think the thicker lines here, the hand-drawn element is less, I mean, it still looks hand-drawn, just more detail is there, more finer illustrations. This looks like kind of the Biltmore, which is kind of funny. These are definitely, so I feel like these are great illustrations that could definitely be used. And I mean, these look semi-professional. I think that especially when they're minimized down to the size of a square on an Instagram story highlight, like nobody's going to, I wouldn't be able to tell if a computer made these or a live person made them. So you can say make them flowery and see what it says. So we went classier, now we're going to make them more flowery.
So this is probably getting way ahead of ourselves, but like those, I was just wowed by the ones that you had posted that were like those group, a bunch of people, home is where you belong. And that just a huge long prompt you're putting in with a ton of details of what you're hoping something like that will look like.
No, that was me. It all started with an idea. It all started with, okay, here you go, Mark.
There you go.
We've got and I actually don't know that this is actually a transparent background. I think that it's doing a white and gray checkered background that mimics the transparent background. But we do, I mean, with the cool thing is with Canva, all of these are essentially transparent backgrounds, so we can erase the backgrounds.
Yeah.
So flowerier. Okay, so I think it did a pretty good job. We've got some flower motifs in here. You could add in any other, I think these are really incredible. Sometimes when I'm prompting, I'll get a result that is just mind-blowing in terms of the level of detail. And these are these remind me of some that I've seen where it's just like, oh, that's really cool and creative. I would love to have a sticker of some of these that I could hand out at events and stuff. I just think that it would be, with your branding underneath that, it would be super simple to design in Canva in like 30 minutes. Okay, Steph, what was your question again?
Oh, like what prompts are you using to make those detailed images that you had posted?
Oh, yeah. So let me see if I can find one of them. Let's go down here. Okay, so this is an example. I'm going to go and start a new prompt. And I was just wondering, like, is it possible to come up with illustrations of neighborhoods that showcase community diversity and inclusivity and include a rainbow motif throughout the image? So you could say something like, can you help me design a poster with illustrations of, I don't know, you could say a diverse community, I'm not going to use the same one just because I'm kind of interested to see what happens if I change some of these words around.
Yeah.
And we'll include like a rainbow motif. Let's just delete the extra text. Sometimes I like to see, given like some highlights, some things that I know that I want, what it comes up with, because I don't want to pretend to be like the most creative person that I know exactly how it ought to look. In fact, I'm not. So I'm allowing DALL-E 3 to be the creative here and come up with some examples. And so it would have been cool. I should have done it in the conversation that we had with the Burgundy icon set to see if we can't, like, using the Gen ID of one of those images that we liked, come up with a new, come up with a poster that was kind of in line with our thing here. So let's go ahead and do that. maybe can you help me design a 4x6 postcard cover that features a diverse neighborhood where there are lots of different happy people living in the neighborhood and walking around and having so this is just like, what do you want to see? Like what kind of things make you happy? What kind of things do you connect with emotionally?
Right.
Emotion.
Well, and I see that paperclip. So does that mean that you could load in your already generated logo and be like, this is my logo, this is my branding, make a postcard that uses those things?
So it is, yes, but probably not in the way that you're expecting. And I haven't tried to do that in the way that you're thinking. It's not going to necessarily. So what I have done is I've uploaded logos and I've said, can you create a new logo for my real estate business that is similar to these example logos. So that's the way that I've been using it. I don't know that it would actually necessarily just copy the logo and input it, but we could try it out. Something to try out. So this is cool. This is great. I mean, there's a lot of people here. I probably want fewer people in this image, but that's a neat idea for like the first pass illustration. And then we can go in and we could refine that. And this is the next one. So again, it took it kind of literally here and is showing us a postcard. So I would go ahead and having this information from DALL-E 3, I would refine the prompt some more so that it knows I just want the artwork for the cover. I'll go ahead and put it on the postcard later. Just give me the artwork, please. It did that here. So this is something that we can get. Again, we can download this, bring it into Canva, make some tweaks. You can add your logo somewhere on here, add your phone number, your branding. I still think that it's a two-step process to your point, Steph. I think that you have to use DALL-E 3 for the creative process of the illustration and making the actual art. And then when it comes to adding your contact information and stuff, it needs to be done in another thing right now. Sometimes you get really lucky. Like the ones that I created that I posted, I got really lucky with those. I didn't have to, there was one misspelling maybe in one, but that was besides the point for that. I didn't have to really make any changes to text that it had input into the image. Let's see what Mark did.
This is one that I was playing with. It's just very, descriptive of what I wanted to create, and it came up with some really nice images. Just describing the colors in the clouds and stuff like that.
I'm like so excited to play with this, you guys. This looks so fun.
And so much easier than using Midjourney. Midjourney's much better quality, but at a much more technical skill level, I feel.
Yeah. With DALL-E 3, all you need to do is be able to. You don't have to write the prompts really. You could if you want to get more detailed with a lot of the images. You can input in specific stylistic things that you want to see and specify gradients, and it does a pretty good job of taking his input, your ideas, and then creating something beautiful. So yeah, these are great. I don't know why we can't see number one, but this one looks really cool. So just amazing. From text, we have this soaring sky, this mountain that's just like off in the distance behind this house. Lights are on. You can even make out some of the detail in the house of couches, things on the walls, some curtains. Beautiful. Yeah, this is a great one here. This first one just popped up. We'd love to. That's probably an Airbnb, right? That we can find.
I thought that was yours, isn't it?
I wish. Yeah, no, maybe one day. Yeah, that's an amazing image there with the mountains, with the river below, the valley. So yeah, super powerful. And I think that the more that we all play with it, I think we're just going to get better and better at using it to create stuff that we can actually use. One of the things that I was playing with the other day is taking things like this, little icons, and there's a website that you can now do this using the there's a sticker GPT, but there's a website called Sticker Mule. You can upload your artwork and it'll create stickers for you. So if you're planning an event, and you need some artwork or stickers, could be a good place to go. Well, I know it's a little bit after 3, so unless there's anything else, hopefully got a little bit of inspiration, and yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Thank you so much.
All righty.
You're welcome.